Thank you to one of our favorites, Policy Genius, for sponsoring today's video.
If you have anyone relying on your income, you need life insurance. It's that simple.
Policy Genius is your one-stop shop to find and buy insurance that you need at the right price.
There's a feeling of comfort knowing that if something should happen to either one of us, that our loved ones would be covered.
Why should you get life insurance? Even if you have coverage through your job, that might not be enough. Most people need 10 times the amount of life insurance that the company provides. Inflation is driving up prices for just about everything, but life insurance rates are down from this time last year. Since life insurance typically gets more expensive as you age, that means now is a great time to buy. They have options that offer coverage in as little as a week to avoid unnecessary medical exams. By making it easy to compare your options from top companies, Policy Genius can help make sure you're not paying a cent more than you have to for the coverage you need. You could save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. Options start at just $17 per month for $500,000 of coverage. Just click the link in the description or head to policygenius.com/redpoppyranch. In minutes, you can find the right policy for you.
Today's the day I got to get all of the lumber from the back of my truck up to the water tank shed and get that roof built in the next 7 days. It looks like there's a couple of rainstorms in the forecast, so I really want to get that roof finished up and frankly get everything finished up there and cleaned up and move on to other projects. So it starts with getting all the lumber up there.
Oh, I'm gone, my friend. Won't you tell me the answers again? My heart bleeds red, but there's no point in telling me why. No point in telling me why. Oh, can't seem to challenge any thought that leaves my mind. Guess my receiver damage is all I hear are thoughts like mine. Oh, I can't help it. I'm just selfish to the core. On self-reflection, think I should mention that I'm better than you are. I'm so vain. I wrote this little song, it's about me. I'm so vain. I'm so vain. I wrote this little song, it's about me. I'm so vain.
This is shout out to the man inside the vanity mirror. Love growing gradually, my plan to self-directed is clear. Used to be I'd rather be with anybody else but the mirror. Seeking validation, thinking it's the end of that era. Hope my honesty scare you, cause I be scaring myself. Looking deep in my reflection like you pretty as hell. Here's some more about myself, I got a story to tell. And for the sake of my bank account, hope that it's self.
Oh, I can't help it. I'm just selfish to the core. Yeah. On self-reflection, think I should mention that I'm better than you are. Oh, I'm so vain. I wrote this little song, it's about me. I'm so vain.
I'm really excited about the progress on the underground water tank shed, but if I don't get that roof on there, it's all for nothing. As far as the roof is concerned on the underground water tank shed, I'm going to build the roof to match the slope of the mountainside. But before I can build that roof, I need to get a flat, level foundation to build from. With about a 412 pitch, the snow will slide just fine, so my goal is to get it as close to that as possible. But I'm framing the roof 2x6x12 16 on center. But the tricky part is, I want to put OSB both on the bottom side and the top side. But I don't want to get into that water tank shed and lay on those water tanks in order to get that OSB on the underside of the roof. Okay, this is the problem with working with railroad ties, is nothing's flat and straight. So before I can build the roof, I first got to at least get me a level surface to work from. So I'm gonna have to pull a string line and see if I can't get that front edge a little straighter. I'm not using any pressure treated lumber above and beyond the railroad tie. There's really no reason to. These 2x6s should not ever be in contact with the ground or the snow once the building is completely finished. But before I can do a whole lot, I've got to get this front board as level and straight as I can get it. I had to take the 2x6s apart across this front edge and shim them to get it sitting as level and straight as I want to. But now that I have a good solid surface to build from, the thing that I'm trying to figure out in my head is how can I frame this where I can turn it upside down so I don't have to get on my back and again lay across those water tanks to nail off the OSB on the underside of the roof. And I'm doing all of this in the name of keeping rodents out of the insulation and hopefully out of the shed. So by having the OSB nailed off on the underside of the roof as well as the top of the roof, that means the rodents can't get into the roof and tear up the insulation like they did before. So I'm going to build a little pony wall across the back of the shed that's about 9 inches tall. And that will change the angle of the roof to just about a 412 pitch. But once I get the little pony wall finished up, I'm going to start laying the rafters out in a way where I can secure the OSB to the rafters 3 at a time, nail it off, flip those rafters over, and basically build the roof from the bottom up while I'm standing on top. Once I got the 2 water tanks reconnected to the plumbing system, I spent the next 3 days running the well pump down in the shallow well almost non-stop, trying to get both tanks filled back up. Because of how much I was running the pump in the shallow well, I didn't take into consideration that the shallow well needed a little bit of time to recover, or I needed to lower the well pump. And after 5 years, that's what I did. I lowered the well pump a little bit deeper down into our shallow well. And this, at this exact moment, is the lowest that well has ever been, but there's still a tremendous amount of water in the well. To me, water is most certainly the most important part of a homestead, because if you don't have a good water source, you're basically camping. In those early days, it took me a good solid 1.5 years to figure out just in fact where the best source of water for our homestead would be. And since that time, that shallow well has always produced significantly more than what we've used. But I still find myself thinking how I can best conserve water and have as much water on hand as I could possibly need, and then store it in a way where I'm not vulnerable to freeze. So on a normal summer day, having 5,000 gallons of water at our disposal would probably last around 5 to 7 days. But 5,000 gallons of water in the middle of winter, if we knew we needed to conserve a little bit, we could probably make it last close to a month. But the only change that I could foresee making at some point down the road would basically be to duplicate this same thing again, right next to it. To build one more underground water tank shed that could hold 2 more water tanks, giving us a total of 10,000 gallons of water. Maybe someday I'll do that, and then I would be done with the water situation. So in our situation, rainwater collection doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but using our shallow well does. Okay, so here's my first attempt at building the roof upside down and backwards. And this is about as big of a piece as I feel comfortable flipping But this piece that I'm kneeling on will now end up on the other side of the shed, on the underside of the roof. So now that I've got this piece flipped over, this will slide down to the other end of the shed as I add on to it. And ultimately, all of the OSB that I install will be the underside of the roof. And I'll simply have to go back and nail off the seams at the rafters and also the front and the back edge of these 2x6s that all the rafters are nailed to. I made that sound more complicated than it actually is, but ultimately I don't have to lay on my back and nail off the underside of the roof. So using 3 studs and a sheet and a half of plywood, I can prefabricate things, then slide it together. And by using the 2x6 to tie all of the rafters together, everything stays fairly square. And initially it was supposed to be about 21.5 feet by 12 feet. But I shortened the rafters by about 3 inches, so the 12-foot tin will have about an inch overhang on both the front and the back of the roof. But as the world seems to be slowly running out of water, in the back of our head, I'm always thinking about our shallow well and the best ways to conserve water, especially as we work harder to be more self-sufficient and live more sustainably, and how important water will be to that process. Cedar and my oldest daughter Sage are at a yoga retreat for the night, and so I get to play Mr. Mom and cook for Callie and Reed. And we thought that we would enjoy the beautiful summer evening and have a campfire outside and cook what are called hobo dinners. As a kid growing up, every time I went camping with my dad and my brothers, it seemed like we would always make our own individual hobo dinners. So Callie and Reed invited a couple of their friends to come up, and I think my oldest son Rhett and his girlfriend are also going to be here. And we're gonna have a little fire right outside the front door right here, mainly so I can watch it real close. It's a tiny bit breezy, and I wanna have this campfire close enough that I can soak it down with a hose when we're done cooking. But step one to cook hobo dinners is I need to have some good hot coals, and that starts with a fire. Log cabin's a good one too. You go like this. If it's too hard to do a teepee, you do like this. Now keep going. Back, forth, and you go a little bit tighter. You get the torch ready. You handle the torch, I'll handle the lighter. You don't need too much, remember. Point it straight out. Point it away, straight up. Okay, that's it. There you go, it's lit. Down lowest you can on the side. There you go. You can lay it on the side like that. You handling it? You did a beautiful job. Keep stacking it up and make it go as tall as you can. I dare you. Do not get burned. Do not singe your hair. He's playing Jenga with the fire. Well, it needs to burn down. All that needs to go on top. Can you continue to put all that on there, or reach? All this? Yeah, it all has to go on there so we can burn it down to coals. We can't cook on it. We can't cook on it until it's cold.
Can I put it on now?
Yeah. Okay, get it on there. Get out of the way.
It's gonna burn.
Get it done. Hurry. Hustle. Get the other big pieces on there. Everybody get the piece of aluminum foil.
One for you.
That's not big enough, is it?
You just wrap it up.
Just to start with, like a plate. We're gonna build on these and then we're gonna wrap them up. First step, cabbage. You're gonna create a small layer of cabbage so your food doesn't burn. The cabbage keeps your food from burning. Put down a layer of cabbage. So next is burger. Tell me how much, right? About like mine there.
Do you spread out the meat or do you just leave it in a clump?
You know, flat, like a patty. You want it to look like a patty. No, just make your patty as flat as you can get it. Okay, onion. Red, you want an onion? Yes, sir. Whoever wants onion. You guys, take some potatoes. Whoever wants potatoes, put potatoes in there. Fresh out of the garden. These carrots are fresh out of. Who wants carrots?
Me.
I
I just want to eat bacon.
Salt.
That's good.
Yeah.
This is my world famous fajita seasoning. My favorite.
I like it.
That is good.
And I'd season everything with that.
You don't need
cereal,
too much. You don't need
steak.
too much of this stuff.
Mom
You
doesn't
don't have to do this, huh?
Mom doesn't normally do that.
Yeah, some people don't do it. Some people do it.
Can I have one mushroom?
Cream of mushroom soup. 1
Do we
scoop.
have to do that?
All of us.
Don't be scared. Hey, now here comes the fun part. Okay, ready?
You need a new life.
Here comes my favorite part. If you do this part right, you can seal this up so tight that it'll swell up like a pillow. In the middle, opposite direction. You gotta do opposite. You're trying to seal the seams. Are you listening, son? If you seal those seams, then it becomes a steam cooker. A lot of people say to do the shiny side out too, and it gets even hotter. But so here we go.
Yeah. Wait, can we go on Florida?
Yeah, you guys just have to wear helmets. Okay, so the cabbage can stay behind. That's done. Let's see. Potatoes are. Yeah, so whose was this one? Okay. All right. Here's the best stuff for it.
Can you pick out all the cabbage?
You can just leave it in there.
Who knew Valentina?
The little pieces can stay in there, honey. Yeah, I pick out most of the big pieces. Okay, if you don't want them, just pick them out and put them on there.
I think the cabbage is good. I always eat my cabbage. I usually.
Who's inside?
Oh, Bennett, high five, Bennett.
I just really quickly wanted to say thank you guys for taking time to watch our video. On the next video, it should be all about the conclusion of that roof on that water tank shed. We've got some weather moving in, so I've got to get that dried in, hopefully before the storms start kicking up. But more than anything, we just wanted to say thanks, and we hope you guys are good. Okay, be careful not to get burned around here, please.
They video us and we're like,
You can't even see it.
good. Just wait till he posts it and like the light shining and we're like,